Okay. Good morning, everyone. I would like to welcome you to Wellness Wednesday. And today we have Kathleen Crowley from Adventist Healthcare Life Work Strategies Program, and she's going to talk to us about the well-being benefits of being an emotionally intelligent leader. So right over to you, Kathleen.
Very good. Good morning again. All good to see some of the familiar faces. The emotionally intelligent leader, how important is this? It's so important. What we've learned over the years in business is how important management is, right? It's so important for retention, keeping our employees happy, keeping them from calling out, and calling out sick or just absenteeism or just turnover rates. People stay in jobs because of management. They stay in jobs because of the way they're treated. And with a leader who has emotional intelligence, that employee is going to be more likely to stick around because they like being around. I started off saying I really like my job. I do, and it has everything to do with leadership. It has everything to do with how I'm being treated as an employee. When I come up with an idea, how it's accepted, even if it's not accepted, the idea of how it's received, right? So there are ways to be able to tell your employee, interesting thought. I'll take it under consideration. Not that is the craziest, most we would never, right? Difference in the way they approach. So let's talk a little bit about what it actually is. It's the definition that I like the most, rather, I haven't finished my coffee yet this morning. Having the ability to be aware of both your own and others' feelings and emotions, and to be able to use this knowledge to guide your own thinking and actions appropriately, right? So it's that the ability to have what's called interoception, taking that outside world and making sense of it inside, having the ability to react with intentionality. Yeah. So no matter what comes your way, as an emotionally intelligent leader, you can see it for what it is. And if it's filled with, if it's employees or a client, storming into your office or virtually coming into your office with, they're not happy. And the emotionally intelligent leader is going to recognize that. A leader with low emotional intelligence or low EQ, if you will, is going to meet that person up here. Then communication goes out the window, nothing effective happens, right? But if the emotionally intelligent leader can see that person for where they are and take that in and say, I'm not going there. I need to bring this person down. I'm not going to elevate the situation more, right? There is greater chance of some kind of resolution. There is greater chance of effective communication. There is greater chance that two people can walk away from a high intensity encounter with not so much more high intensity. They can walk away feeling lessened, but maybe heard, which is very important because it's what we all want out of life. We just want to be heard. And an emotionally intelligent leader has the ability to do just that. And so there's two parts to an emotionally intelligent person. There's their knowledge, right? Their IQ, which is not necessarily enough, and the ability to transfer that emotional intelligence into action, into their behavior, right? So it's one thing to read somebody and understand the room, right? To walk into a room and go, yeesh. And then it's the second part is, what do you do with that? Right. So the emotionally intelligent leader has those two components down. They have the ability to read a room and they have the ability to behave appropriately or to even guide the room the way it needs to be. And it's really, it's an open sphere of influence, right? Boy, that sounds really great, doesn't it? But that sphere really encompasses how, what you choose to say, how you choose to say it, how you relate or not to others, how you take care of yourself. That's key. The world is all about self-care right now. And an emotionally intelligent leader is going to be in tune with when they're really stressed, when they're really burned out, when they're tired. They're going to listen to themselves. So within that sphere, they also know how to take care of themselves. They know how to manage their time. And Margie, you did that right at the beginning, right? You said, in respect to everybody who's here, I want to respect everybody's time. We're going to get started right on time. And it's very, very important to not always get started on time, but to end on time as well. Because otherwise people don't want to come back to your meetings. They always run long. They never start on time, right? It sends a message. And so an emotionally intelligent leader is aware of that. And then finally, in that sphere of influence, they also know how to make decisions. Again, that's different than making a decision, but how to make a decision. How do you roll it out? How do you tell your staff? How do you tell your clients, right? The ability to know how to really understand others' emotions and how they're impacting on you. I mean, really, it's what I do for a living, right? You've heard of transference and therapy. You know, a therapist really has to be aware of what it is that they're feeling when somebody's telling them something. Maybe they're telling them something that's triggered something in the past. I don't want to get too analytical and Freud and all that, but that's really what it's about. It's really about having that ability to say, this is bothering me. Why is it bothering me? Or this person is really hot. Let me not meet them where they're at. Let me just listen to them for a minute. And maybe I won't be able to say what it is that they want to hear, but maybe just listening would be key. Emotional intelligence is also the strongest driver of leadership and personal excellence. It alone does not make you smart, and your IQ helps, but that's for school, that's for academics, but you have to have that emotional piece, right? And the IQ, while controversial, I'll recognize that. If you have a high IQ, that doesn't make you an emotionally intelligent leader. It makes you book smart. And we all know those people, right? We know people that are very book smart. They can quote the author, they can quote the page that it was written on and the rule number and, you know, when the book was published. But they don't necessarily have the ability to read themselves, let alone others. Fair? And this really enables having some emotional intelligence, right? Enables you to assess and manage your emotions of others. So it's not just being aware of somebody else's emotions, it's being able to manage them. And as I said before, it really is a true understanding of what keeps people in business, how you retain them, and your clients as well, how you read that, right? And so there are different parts to emotional intelligence. There's your personality, which is changeable, and then there's your IQ, albeit controversial, which is the level of intelligence. But the emotional intelligence is really all about flexibility, meeting change as change happens. And if none of you on this call have learned about managing change in this past year, well, Lord help you, right? We've all had to endure such change in the media and everywhere, you know, with the pandemic and how it's changed your businesses. And the emotional intelligent leader manages that. They manage themselves and they manage others in that regard as well. And so it's about balancing your emotions and your intelligence at the same time. It's about taking into account how things are done and paying attention to people's motives, people's behaviors, and their interactions. It's observation. And it's observation with the component of being able to take it in and make sense of it. And you don't always have to diagnose it, right? You don't always have to say, oh my gosh, this is exactly what's going on. But it's the ability to see what's happening and say, I'm uncomfortable with this. I don't know why. Just being in touch with your emotions. I mean, that's what we all strive for in life, right? Is, to really understand ourselves, because in understanding, we evolve, we grow, and it makes no difference in business, right? The more you know, the more you grow. In business, the more you understand about what's happening in your business, what's happening in the outside world, what's happening in your office at that moment, right? Makes you the better leader. And so emotional intelligence in business is just no different. And again, you don't really have to have that full understanding of what it is that you're seeing, but rather, what are you feeling in that moment? When you get that, when you have that clear understanding of what am I feeling in this moment, you're less apt to react inappropriately. Make sense? So if there's a scuttle going on and I'm uncomfortable with it, and I recognize that, I'm really more apt to manage myself primarily in that situation. And then if I get it, if I get myself, it's so much easier to manage the others. I mean, that's really it. I had to fit a lot into 15 minutes, but that really is the gestalt, if you will, of emotional intelligence and an emotionally intelligent, an emotionally intelligently driven leader. It's really about being able to understand what's happening inside as you see it around you, and then lead from that. Make sense? Any questions? Boy, I did that right in 15 minutes, didn't I?
That was great. I mean, we could go on and on with this topic.
We could. There's a lot more to it.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. I don't know if you've been reading the chat as you've been going along.
No.
Oh, read all the stuff in the chat.
Why was I hitting anything for people?
Oh, Patricia said, in recognition of how stressed out our staff has been, Steve has partnered with our acupuncturist neighbor and offered everyone a half-hour restorative treatment.
Come on.
And
Awesome.
I said, when you were talking, I've learned to sleep on it before reacting, because sometimes, your first reaction to something is not appropriate.
That's the knee-jerk reaction, right?
Right.
That's our
Yeah.
instinctive reaction. And you're on point, Margie, if you pause, right? I think we talked about this before when I talked to you before about creating that space before you react. Yeah. And if you pause before that reaction, it gives you a moment to gather that intelligence. What am I feeling? Right? Before you hit that knee-jerk reaction. Taking deep breaths. Yep.
Yeah, that's good also with children.
100%. 100%. But so important in business, because as human beings, we do want to do that knee-jerk reaction, and it's not in our best interest most often, right? But as you said, sleep on it, or just take a pause, or just say, you know what? I don't have a reaction to this right now. Can I get back to you? Because that gives you a minute.
Patricia, you had a question in the chat?
Yeah, we have so many stories, both from the staff side, with 400 caregivers from multiple different countries, how they react to situations, how we react to them, and then the families that we're working with that are multicultural from, the Bethesda, Montgomery County, Fairfax, Virginia area. It's, learning to keep that presence so that your shields are up. And that you're not, you used a great word, where you're not absorbing that
Mhm.
energy, but rather deflecting it and offering a different pool.
You
know,
can take it in, and it's in recognizing that energy and saying, what is it doing to me?
Mhm.
So once you get you down, right, it's making me uncomfortable. Gee, it must be making them uncomfortable,
Right.
right? Or it's making me scared. Maybe they're scared. Yeah.
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 Aaron, did you want to share your thought?
You say me?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it's important in leadership. Granted, like I feel very fortunate to work at Launch, where I think our CEO, our boss Liz, is super understanding and takes time to listen to you and cares about you. And I think oftentimes leadership is taken as sort of like my way or the highway, and is like you're encouraged to be like strong in leadership, but I think there's a huge dichotomy and need for the softer side, and like listening and taking into account those under you, whether they are employees or patients or clients or whoever it may be. So I think that's really important. I like the talk.
Agreed. And if you think about leaders that influenced you in a positive way, they were probably emotionally intelligent.
Absolutely.
And if you think about some of their tactics, and if that's what you want to emulate, right, they were probably really good at their own emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
When you reflect back on those that really influenced you and made you want to be who you are, they probably had a good sense before they knew what it was called, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And also, Kathleen, Aaron is a physical therapist at Launch SP. So I can see where this mind-body connection really is important too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, you've really got to be aware, don't you, of the whole thing.
Yeah. We got to take into account the whole person,
Yep.
not just the body part or something.
Yep. That's right.
Everyone's got
That's right.
Because doesn't the emotional affect the body, the pains and the aches and right? I know when I'm stressed, my shoulders go up, my neck gets tight.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about giving my talk in several weeks about pain and sort of how it's not just physical. It's like more of an emotional and
Truly. I've done a lot of work with folks with chronic pain, and, they were depressed, and, it was like, which came first? And if you helped with the depression, it helped with their pain tolerance. Now it's questionable, did their pain decrease or did their tolerance increase? But either way, they improved.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, there's been a lot of research on different organs absorbing different types of pain. And so it's, kind of Patricia going into the company doing the acupuncture to really release where it's concentrated for that specific person.
Yeah.
I've done acupuncture for years, and wow, I that is so neat that organizations doing that.
Okay, well, we're way over our time. I want to thank Kathleen so much. Next Wednesday is Ashkan from Total Health Family Clinic. And then we have Sharon Burke, and then we have Susan from Thrive Yoga. Then we have Dr. Paris, and then we're ending on 5/26 with Aaron. So that's the rest of our Wellness Wednesday program through the end of May. And I want to thank you so much for Adventist Healthcare, LifeWork Strategies, for doing these 4 seminars for us. We really appreciate it. And I hope everybody has a great day.
Bye all. Take
Thank
care.
you.
Good to
Have
see
a great day.
Stay well.